Dr. Zix 427 had never seen anything like it in their 3 centuries of medical practice. The emergency ward of Stellar Medical Station Gamma 9 was usually quiet, dealing mostly with routine space travel ailments and the occasional mining accident. But today, as the station's proximity alerts blared and emergency protocols activated, everything changed. Incoming vessel, critical condition. The automated system announced, its crystalline voice echoing through the pristine white corridors. Unknown species detected. Zix's secondary heart began pumping faster, their translucent skin showing the increased blood flow in brilliant purple patterns. As chief medical officer, they had dealt with dozens of species, but an unknown. That was rare in this well-mapped sector of space. The medical team assembled quickly, their various anatomies creating an odd symphony of movement. The clicking of arthropodian legs, the soft whoosh of hovering gaseous beings, and the fluid motions of fellow crystallines like Zix. They had trained for this, but training and reality were very different things. Patient incoming in 3 minutes, announced Dr. Krell, their mandibles clicking with practiced precision. Telemetry showing severe physical trauma, multiple system failures, and they paused, antennae twitching in confusion, regenerative processes already in progress. The emergency bay doors hissed open, and in floated a stasis pod. Through its transparent surface, Zix could see the patient, a being they had only read about in xenobiology journals. A human. The human's body was a mess of what Zix initially thought was terminal damage. Bone fragments protruded through flesh, internal organs showed signs of massive trauma, and blood, so much red blood, had been contained by the pod's stasis field. By the stellar confluence, whispered Dr. Krell, all 4 eyes wide. How is it still alive? Zix moved forward, their crystalline hands already glowing with diagnostic energy. Life signs are strong, surprisingly strong for this level of damage. Begin emergency protocols, standard procedure for carbon-based life forms. As they worked to stabilize the human, something extraordinary caught Zix's attention. The bone fragments, they were moving. Not from external force, but somehow, knitting themselves back together. This is impossible, muttered Dr. Loom, their gaseous form swirling in agitation. Osseous tissue doesn't behave this way. It can't. But it was. Before their assembled eyes, the human's body was doing what their medical technology often struggled to achieve. It was healing itself. Not slowly, not over months or years, but in real time. Get me everything we have on human physiology, Zix ordered, their crystalline form glowing brighter with excitement. And someone contact the Galactic Medical Council. They need to see this. The human's vital signs began to stabilize further, even as they worked. Their body was not just fighting death, it was winning. Cellular regeneration rates were off the charts, immune responses were coordinating like a well-trained army, and the bone fragments continued their impossible dance of reconstruction. Sir, one of the junior doctors called out, their vine-like appendages waving in excitement. I found something in the historical database. Humans. They do this naturally. They call it healing. Zix's entire crystalline form pulsed with shock. Natural regeneration at this scale. Without technological assistance or genetic modification. Affirmative, the junior doctor continued. According to limited data, they've always been able to do this. It's normal for them. The medical team worked through the cycle, monitoring and documenting every impossible moment of the human's recovery. When the patient finally stabilized enough to be moved to a recovery pod, Zix remained behind in their office, reviewing the data. Their report to the Galactic Medical Council would need to be perfect. How could they explain that they had witnessed what amounted to a medical miracle, only to discover it was simply Tuesday for humans? How could they convey that everything they thought they knew about biological healing had been upended by a species that treated rapid cellular regeneration as mundane? As Zix began to compose their report, they couldn't help but wonder, What other surprises did humans have in store for the galactic medical community? And more importantly, what could they learn from these remarkable beings who carried such extraordinary healing capabilities in their very cells? The human would wake soon, and Zix had so many questions. But first, they needed to update the medical station's protocols. Clearly, their standard procedures for critical trauma needed revision when it came to humans. After all, how do you treat a species that seemed to regard the impossible as merely inconvenient? The recovery ward of Stellar Medical Station Gamma 9 had never been so crowded. Word had spread quickly through the station about the human patient, and medical professionals from every department found excuses to pass by the observation window. Dr. Zix 427 couldn't blame them. They too found themselves drawn to the remarkable spectacle of human healing in action. "Another tissue density scan, please," Zix requested, their crystalline form shimming with barely contained excitement. The human patient, who they now knew was named Sarah Chen, a deep space mining engineer, was defying every medical prediction they had made. Dr. Krell manipulated the scanner controls with practiced precision, their arthropod appendages moving in perfect synchronization. Bone density has increased by another 15% in just the past 6 hours. The callus formation is, well, see for yourself. The holographic display showed the progression of healing in Sarah's previously shattered femur. What should have taken months was happening in days. The bone fragments had already aligned and begun fusing, while new blood vessels threaded through the forming tissue like tiny rivers of life. "It's beautiful," Zix whispered, their outer layer pulsing with iridescent patterns of wonder. The coordination between the osteoblasts and blood vessel formation is like watching a symphony. "A very fast symphony," Dr. Loom added, their gaseous forms swirling thoughtfully. The energy requirements alone should be impossible, yet her metabolic readings are stable, just slightly elevated. Sarah stirred in her recovery pod, drawing their attention. She had been drifting in and out of consciousness for the past day, her body focused on the monumental task of rebuilding itself. This time, her eyes opened fully, alert and aware. "Where?" she began, voice rough from disuse. "You're on Stellar Medical Station Gamma 9, Zix answered, moving closer. "I'm Dr. Zix 427, your attending physician. You've been here for approximately 3 standard cycles following a mining accident." Sarah's eyes widened slightly at Zix's crystalline appearance, but she showed no fear. "The others?" "From the mining station." "All safe," Zix assured her. "You sustained the worst injuries during the evacuation. Speaking of which," they hesitated, professional curiosity overwhelming their usual restraint. "Your healing capabilities are remarkable. Would you be willing to discuss them?" A look of confusion crossed Sarah's face. "My healing? I don't understand. Is something wrong?" Dr. Krell clicked their mandibles in what passed for laughter among their species. "Wrong. Quite the opposite. You're healing at a rate that our medical technology struggles to achieve, and you're doing it naturally." "Oh," Sarah said, realization dawning. "You mean because I'm human? This is normal for us. Basic biology." The medical team exchanged glances. Basic biology. They had suspected as much from their research, but hearing it stated so matter-of-factly was still jarring. "Normal," Zix repeated, their form pulsing with a mix of excitement and disbelief. "Would you mind explaining how you perceive this process? What does it feel like?" Sarah shifted slightly in the recovery pod, wincing. "Right now, it itches. The bones especially. They always itch when they're healing. And I'm hungry. Really hungry." Dr. Loom rushed to adjust the nutrient flow in response to this information, their gaseous form whirling faster. "The energy expenditure. Of course you're hungry. Your body is performing incredibly complex cellular regeneration." "Actually," Sarah said, managing a small smile, "I think I'd kill for a cheeseburger. The nutrient solution is great and all, but..." The medical team spent the next several hours documenting Sarah's experiences, comparing them with their observations, and revising their understanding of human medical care. They learned about the human concept of comfort food, the importance of physical therapy in recovery, and the remarkable human ability to remain optimistic in the face of severe injury. "One more question," Zix asked, after noticing Sarah's energy beginning to flag. "When you realized how severely you were injured, were you afraid you wouldn't recover?" Sarah considered this for a moment. "I was more afraid of letting down my team. The injuries, I knew they'd heal. Bodies are pretty good at fixing themselves if you give them time and food." She yawned. "Speaking of which," as Sarah drifted back to sleep, Zix remained by the recovery pod, watching the miracle of human healing continue its relentless march forward. Their initial report to the Galactic Medical Council had been met with skepticism, but the data was undeniable. Humans didn't just heal, they expected to heal. They took it for granted. Dr. Zix, one of the junior medical staff, approached, their vine-like appendages curling with excitement. "The Council has responded to our latest data transmission. They're sending a research team." Zix's crystalline form brightened. "Excellent. Perhaps now we can begin to understand." They paused, watching as Sarah's latest bone scan showed even more improvement. "No, not understand. Learn. We have so much to learn." In the recovery pod, Sarah slept peacefully, her remarkable body continuing its basic biology, a process that was rewriting medical textbooks across the galaxy, one cell at a time. The emergency alert caught Dr. Zix 427 in the middle of their presentation to the Galactic Medical Council's research team. Their crystalline form flickered with annoyance at the interruption, but duty called. "Another mining accident," Dr. Krell reported as they rushed toward emergency reception. 2 humans and a Venusian. The humans refused stasis pods during transport. Zix's outer layer rippled with alarm. They refused stasis, with critical injuries. That's against every medical protocol we have. The emergency bay doors parted to reveal 2 humans sitting upright on hover gurneys, their bodies showing clear signs of trauma, but their expressions remarkably calm. The Venusian, despite having much milder injuries, was safely enclosed in a stasis field. "The pods would have just slowed things down," one of the humans explained, grimacing as Dr. Loom began scanning her broken arm. "We're already healing. Name's Maya Rodriguez, by the way. That's Jack Thompson." She nodded toward the other human, who was sporting an impressive array of cuts and bruises. Zix moved forward, diagnostic energies already flowing. "While I respect your species' remarkable healing capabilities, our protocols exist for a reason. The risk of complications." "Actually," interrupted Dr. Pell, a newly arrived member of the Council's research team, their gelatinous form wobbling with excitement, "this presents an unprecedented opportunity to observe human healing from the moment of injury, without stasis interference." Zix's inner conflict manifested as waves of color rippling through their crystalline body. Following protocol meant putting the humans in stasis immediately, but the potential knowledge to be gained. "How do you feel about participating in a medical study?" Zix asked the humans. "We'll still treat your injuries, but we'd like to document your natural healing process." Maya and Jack exchanged glances. "Will it help you treat humans better in the future?" Jack asked. "Undoubtedly." "Then we're in," Maya said, then winced. "Though if you've got something for the pain that won't interfere with your observations." What followed was the most extraordinary 12 hours of Zix's medical career. They watched in real time as the humans' bodies launched into action. Blood clotted efficiently at wound sites, inflammation responses targeted damaged areas with precision, and cellular regeneration began almost immediately. "Fascinating," Dr. Pell murmured, recording every detail. "Their bodies don't just heal, they prioritize. Look at how the repair mechanisms are concentrating on the most severe injuries first." The Council's research team crowded around the humans' beds, their various alien anatomies betraying their excitement as they witnessed what their most advanced medical technology struggled to replicate. "I don't understand," a junior doctor whispered to Zix. If they can heal like this naturally, why did we develop stasis technology in the first place? Because until now, we didn't know this was possible, Zix responded, their form pulsing thoughtfully. We assumed all species needed the same protections we did. Perhaps it's time to reevaluate more than just our emergency protocols. As the hours passed, Maya and Jack's conditions improved steadily. They talked, joked, and even managed to eat solid food. Another revelation for the medical team, who were used to patients being unconscious or in stasis during severe trauma recovery. Dr. Zix, the station's administrative AI, announced, "The Medical Council has requested your presence in the conference room. They wish to discuss your decision to breach stasis protocols." Zix's outer layer dimmed slightly. They had known this was coming. "Very well. Dr. Krell, please continue monitoring our patients." In the conference room, the council members' holograms flickered with varying degrees of disapproval. Dr. Zix 427 began the chief counselor, their energy form crackling. "You deliberately ignored standard emergency protocols. How do you justify this breach?" With results, Zix replied firmly, their crystalline form steady and bright. "The data we've gathered in the past 12 hours has already revolutionized our understanding of biological healing. These humans have demonstrated healing capabilities that render many of our standard protocols not just unnecessary, but potentially counterproductive for their species." "Protocols exist for a reason," another council member interjected. "Yes," Zix agreed, "they exist to provide the best possible care for our patients. But how can we claim to do that if we refuse to adapt our protocols when presented with new evidence? The humans have shown us that our one-size-fits-all approach to emergency medicine may be fundamentally flawed." The debate raged for hours. Zix presented their data, defended their decisions, and gradually watched as skepticism gave way to curiosity among the council members. By the time they returned to the medical ward, a new protocol was being drafted, one that took into account the remarkable healing capabilities of humans. Maya and Jack were sitting up in their beds, playing some kind of card game with Dr. Krell, who seemed to be losing badly despite having 4 arms to hold their cards. "Good news," Zix announced, their form glowing brightly. "The Council has approved a new classification for human medical treatment. No more mandatory stasis, though it's still recommended for severe cases." "See." Maya grinned, showing off her arm where the break was already beginning to knit. "Sometimes you have to break protocol to make progress." Zix's form shimmered with amusement. "Indeed, though I suspect this is just the beginning. Humanity's basic biology may end up revolutionizing medicine across the galaxy." "Just wait until they learn about our immune systems," Jack muttered, sharing a knowing look with Maya. Zix's entire form brightened with interest. "What about your immune systems?" The humans just smiled, and Zix realized their medical revolution was only just beginning. Stellar Medical Station Gamma 9 had changed dramatically in the past few weeks. What was once a quiet outpost had become the galaxy's premier center for studying human biology. Dr. Zix 427 could barely recognize their own medical ward, now bustling with research teams and human patients who had specifically requested treatment at the station. "Another fascinating case, Dr. Pell announced, their gelatinous form rippling with excitement. "The human construction worker who suffered plasma burns yesterday. Their skin is already showing signs of regeneration." Zix moved to examine the patient's charts, their crystalline form reflecting the soft light of the medical displays. The burns that would have required months of intensive cellular regeneration therapy for most species were already healing. But it wasn't just the speed that caught their attention. It was the efficiency. "Look at this," Zix pointed to the cellular activity readout. "The damaged tissue isn't just being replaced, it's being improved. The new skin cells show enhanced resistance to thermal damage." "They adapt," a voice said from the doorway. Sarah Chen, their first human patient, stood there looking fully recovered. She had chosen to stay on as a consultant, helping the medical team understand human responses to injury. It's what we do best. Dr. Krell clicked their mandibles thoughtfully. You mean this adaptation is normal? Your bodies learn from injuries. Absolutely, Sarah confirmed. Break a bone. It grows back stronger at the point of the break. Get a sunburn. Your skin produces more melanin to protect itself. Exercise tears up your muscles. They rebuild tougher than before. We call it, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. The medical team fell silent, processing this information. The implications were staggering. Not only did humans heal at remarkable rates, but they actually improved from their injuries. Dr. Zix, a junior doctor, burst into the room, their vine-like appendages writhing with excitement. You need to see this. Remember the human athlete we treated for nerve damage last week? We just completed her follow-up scan. The holographic display showed something remarkable. The damaged neural pathways hadn't just healed, they had created new connections, bypassing the original injury site entirely. The human body hadn't just repaired itself, it had engineered a completely new solution. This is why our traditional regenerative therapies weren't working optimally for humans, Zix realized, their form pulsing with the thrill of discovery. We've been trying to force their bodies to heal according to our understanding of biology. Instead, we need to support their natural healing processes. The implications rippled through the galactic medical community like a shockwave. Research teams began studying how human healing mechanisms could be adapted for other species. The human's ability to not just recover but adapt and improve was revolutionizing their understanding of biological resilience. There's something else, Sarah added, watching the doctors examine the neural scan. Something we haven't told you about our immune systems. Dr. Pell's gelatinous form quivered with anticipation. More surprises. Ever wonder why humans can eat almost anything? How we can survive on so many different worlds? Our immune system doesn't just fight off threats, it learns from them. Each challenge makes it stronger, more adaptable. Zix's crystalline form flickered as they processed this information. Are you saying that human immunity is educational? Exactly, Sarah grinned. Every pathogen we encounter becomes a lesson. Our bodies remember them, create defenses, and pass that information on to the next generation. We're not just healing machines, we're living archives of biological problem-solving. The research team was practically vibrating with excitement. Dr. Krell's antennae were twitching so fast, they were almost buzzing. Even the usually composed Dr. Loom's gaseous form was swirling in complex patterns of scientific enthusiasm. This changes everything, Zix declared, their form glowing brightly. Not just how we treat humans, but how we understand healing itself. Your species' ability to adapt and improve through injury and illness. It's not just remarkable. It's revolutionary. As if to prove their point, alarms began blaring throughout the station. Emergency incoming, the AI announced. Multiple casualties from a space station accident. 3 humans, 2 Arcturians, and a Proximan. The medical team rushed to their stations, but there was a new confidence in their movements. They had learned to trust in human resilience, to work with it rather than trying to control it. The humans would heal, adapt, and quite possibly emerge stronger than before. You know what humans call this? Sarah asked as she followed them toward the emergency bay. We call it Tuesday. Zix's form sparkled with what might have been laughter. They were beginning to understand that humans didn't just survive. They thrived on challenges. Every injury, every illness, every brush with death was just another opportunity for them to prove their incredible resilience. And as the emergency bay doors opened to receive the new patients, Zix couldn't help but wonder, what other secrets did these remarkable beings hold? What other impossible things did they consider ordinary? The galaxy's understanding of life itself was being rewritten, one human patient at a time. One standard year after their first human patient, Stellar Medical Station Gamma 9 was unrecognizable. What had once been a quiet medical outpost had transformed into the galaxy's leading center for xenomedicine. Dr. Zix 427 stood in their newly expanded research wing, their crystalline form reflecting the multiple holographic displays showing ongoing human healing studies. The latest results from the adaptive immunity trials are in, Dr. Krell announced, mandibles clicking with excitement. By studying human immune responses, we've developed a treatment that helps Arcturian bodies learn from pathogens instead of just fighting them. Zix's form pulsed with pride. Their team had done more than just document human healing. They'd begun to understand it well enough to adapt its principles for other species. The implications were revolutionary. And how are the human research volunteers doing? Zix asked, though they could guess the answer. Thriving as usual, Dr. Pell replied, their gelatinous form rippling with amusement. They seemed to enjoy pushing their healing capabilities to new limits. Yesterday, one of them asked if we could speed up their bone healing process even more. Sarah Chen, now the station's permanent human biology consultant, laughed from her desk nearby. That's humans for you. Tell us something's impossible, and we'll try to prove you wrong. The medical station had become a unique blend of human and alien approaches to healing. Traditional alien medical technology now worked alongside what they'd learned from human biology. Recovery rooms were designed to support natural healing processes while providing advanced monitoring. Even the station's nutrition systems had been revolutionized after they discovered how human bodies used food during recovery. Dr. Zix, the station's AI, announced, the Galactic Medical Council is ready for your presentation. Zix's form brightened as they moved toward the conference room. This was the moment they'd been working toward. The official presentation of their findings on human biological capabilities and their applications in xenomedicine. The council members' holograms flickered into existence, representing medical authorities from across the galaxy. Among them, Zix noticed several human medical professionals, a recent and welcome addition to the council. Distinguished colleagues, Zix began, their form glowing with confidence. 1 year ago, our understanding of biological healing was fundamentally challenged by our first human patient. Today, I'm pleased to present not just our findings on human healing capabilities, but their practical applications across species. The holographic displays came alive with data. Videos showed accelerated healing in traditionally slow-healing species. Charts demonstrated improved recovery rates across all forms of treatment. But most importantly, they showed how the integration of human biological principles had transformed medical care throughout the galaxy. By understanding how humans heal, Zix continued, we've learned that biology is more adaptable than we ever imagined. Their bodies don't just repair damage. They learn from it, improve upon it, and pass those improvements on to future generations. This principle of adaptive healing has revolutionized our approach to medicine. Dr. Loom's gaseous form swirled forward to present the next section. We've discovered that many species have dormant capabilities similar to human healing. They just need the right conditions to activate them. Our new protocols have reduced recovery times across all known species by an average of 60%. The presentation continued, showing case after case of successful treatments inspired by human biology. Species that once required years to heal from severe injuries now recovered in months. Chronic conditions that had been considered untreatable showed improvement under new protocols derived from studying human immune responses. But perhaps most remarkably, Zix concluded, their form pulsing with emotion, we've learned that the galaxy's approach to medicine needed healing of its own. We had become so reliant on technology that we'd forgotten to listen to biology itself. Humans reminded us that life finds a way, not just to survive, but to thrive. The council chambers erupted in discussion. Questions flew from all directions, but they weren't skeptical anymore. They were eager to learn more, to understand how these discoveries could be implemented across the galaxy. As the presentation concluded, Sarah approached Zix. You know, on Earth, we have an old saying, the more things change, the more they stay the same. Zix's form flickered questioningly. I don't understand. Everything has changed. Sarah smiled. Has it? Or have we just remembered what life has always known? That healing isn't about fighting against nature, it's about working with it. That every challenge is an opportunity to grow stronger. That what seems impossible to one being might be everyday biology to another. Looking around at their transformed medical station, at the mixing of human and alien medical knowledge, at the countless lives being saved and improved, Zix understood. They hadn't just changed medicine. They'd rediscovered its true nature. Next week's looking busy, Sarah added, checking her datapad. We've got 3 Venusian hospitals sending teams to learn the new protocols, and there's a group of human medical students arriving for their xenobiology rotation. Zix's form brightened. Perfect. After all, the best way to heal the galaxy is to teach it to heal itself. And as they watched their medical team, human and alien working side by side, Zix realized that this wasn't just an evolution in medical care. It was an evolution in understanding what was possible, because sometimes the most remarkable discoveries weren't about finding something new. They were about seeing what was there all along, waiting to be understood. The galaxy would never look at healing the same way again. And somewhere out there, a human was probably already thinking of ways to make it even better.